Hello everyone, my name is Gus and welcome to Dive Talk Plus. Several weeks ago, I released a video where I talk about dive watches and what to know before you buy them, right? For people that are thinking, I'm getting into diving, I should probably get a dive watch. Well, I talk about everything you need to know before you buy one. Mainly how they work and whether you should depend on it for a dive or not. So I reviewed a couple models in there. I talked about some of my dive watches and why I have them and own them and wear them and whatnot. And several people commented or sent us questions. By the way, if you have any questions, info@divetalk.com, or you can go to our website, divetalk.com. There's a form there where you can send us questions and comments. But anyway, several people suggested that we review the Oris Aquis Depth Gauge. Okay? They were like, that's a great watch. You need to review it. Please review the Oris watch. All right, cool. So I reached out to Oris and I said, look, several people requested that I review this watch. Will you mind sending me one? They said yes, to my surprise. This is a loaner. It's not sponsored by Oris. Oris paid us $0 to talk about this watch. So my review is 100% legit. I'm not holding back anything. I'm not trying to make them happy or unhappy. I'm just going to tell you exactly what I think about this watch. But to their credit, thank you, Oris, so much for supporting Dive Talk Plus and to give people what they want, which is me reviewing the Aquis Depth Gauge. And by the way, I struggle with that name. Aquis? Aquis? All right, Aquis, I think, is the name. The Aquis Depth Gauge, which I'm going to be reviewing. So a little bit of information about this watch. There's a ton of reviews online. I'm going to leave one up here if you want to get into the great details about it. But to me, the size of the watch, first thing to talk about, is a 45.8 millimeter watch. Fits my wrist pretty good. I mean, I don't know if you agree. Maybe you like smaller watches. I know there's men out there that like the 36 millimeter, tiny watches. I'm not one of those guys. I think the smallest one I have is probably one that I'm going to show in this video, which is 38. But anyway, I like big watches. Big watches. I know there's some people that like 55 millimeters, humongous watches. Now, I like, to me, the 44, 45, like that range is pretty good. Biggest watch I have is 50 or 48, I think. But anyway, so this one is 45.8. Great size, really love it. It's a dive watch, and what makes it special is, number one, it's a luxury Swiss mechanical watch. Oris has been making watches since 1904, so 120 years. Rolex, 1905. So this company is older than Rolex. They've been doing timepieces since then. And when I got it, I've never held an Oris watch in my hand. My grandfather wore an Oris watch every day, which I thought it was cool that now I get to, review one. I miss my granddad. But anyway, this is a really cool watch and is a luxury watch. I held it and they sent it to me brand new. Now, to be fair, they didn't send me the watch like brand new as it comes when you buy it from a store. It wasn't like the full unboxing experience with papers and everything. I believe that when you get the watch, you also get the stainless steel bracelet. So you get both the rubber and the stainless steel. I might be wrong about that, by the way. I didn't do a ton of research about it. This is just like you and me are at the bar and I'm talking to you about a watch. That's the premise of this. There's no edits, as you can tell. So this watch came with the rubber band. To be honest, the rubber band was a little too long, but I understand why. They want people to be able to wear this on dives, whether it's on top of your wetsuit, even if you have a thick one, like a 7 or 8 mil wetsuit, or if you have a dry suit. They want to make sure that you can put this thing on and it will work regardless of the suit that you have. Personally, I wanted to wear, I went to Bonaire. It was a million degrees out. I'm not going to be, diving a dry suit. So I actually reached out to Oris and said, look, I know this watch is a loaner. I'm supposed to send it to you, but can I please trim this humongous strap? And they said, go for it. So I was able to cut it to size and fits me perfect. So really like the watch. The other thing that he has, the feature that he has, which I'm used to in other watches as well, is that he has a slider. So if you need to make it bigger, so like right now it fits perfect with nothing on, but let's say I'm putting a wetsuit. It's a 3 mil wetsuit. I'm in Bonaire. I can just press these two buttons right here on the side, and I don't know if you can see it, but you can slide the strap a little bit bigger. See, now it's big. Let me see if I can get close right here so I can show you. Hold on. All right, so now I can press this and move it closer. I'm going to slide it, and now it's smaller. I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, it has a slider, and I would say it's a good, I mean, I don't think it's a full inch, but it's pretty, I mean, it's a lot. It's like 3/4 of an inch or so. So like 20 millimeters or so. So it's 2 centimeters, I believe. I haven't measured, but it's about 2 centimeters or 1.5 or so, something like that. So you can move up and down. So if this was snug, right, when I'm out of the dive and now I'm going to go diving, I can throw it on top of my wetsuit, just stretch it out a little bit, fits perfect, back out of the water, close it again, put it back on. Great stuff. Really, really like that. I will say that the most impressive thing and the reason why a lot of people ask me to review this is because of the complication on the face of the watch, which is a depth gauge. It's a mechanical watch that has a depth gauge around it. And it's pretty ingenious how Oris figured this out. I'm surprised actually other companies didn't figure this out sooner because from what I understand, this watch has been around for about 10 years. So I think in 2014 is when they introduced the depth gauge complication. But basically what it has like this little tunnel around the face, right? And that tunnel is filled with air. And there's something you learn in scuba diving, which is called Boyle's Law. Boyle's Law says that gases compress as you go down in depth. So as pressure increases, the volume of the gas decreases. It's proportional. So if you increase pressure twice, the gas will reduce by half. So it's proportional to the pressure. So anyway, what Oris did is they fill this little tunnel with air, right? I'm out in the air. It's filled with air. When I go underwater, the air inside the little tunnel, the gauge, compresses by Boyle's Law and is filled with water. So you can see how deep you are because the water intrusion comes into that tunnel. And then there's numbers on the face that gives you in meters, not in feet. Maybe they have an Imperial model that has feet in it or on it. But in meters, it tells me exactly how deep I am. And it's pretty accurate. I know that there were some videos out there. I saw a couple of videos from people testing it saying like, it's not really that accurate. It's pretty damn accurate, in my opinion. Like, I took it down to 30 meters. I'll show you the footage so we can take a look at it. And the line was right at 30. Maybe like 29 when it was 30 meters. Like, you're off by half a meter maybe. But, I mean, it's pretty accurate, in my opinion. Like, I wouldn't second guess it. If I saw 30 on it, I wouldn't be like, is it 29.5 or 30.5? No, I would be like, it's 30. Fine. It's not going to change much. The one thing I don't like about it, and I'm just going to be honest, is that if this is a dive watch, it should have the minute markings around the entire bezel. I don't like that it only has the first 15 minutes. I don't understand why the decision was made to do that. Maybe it was for design reasons. But if this is made for functionality, which in my opinion, out of all the dive watches I have, this is the most functional one. This was a big slip. This was a big mistake. I think that they should come up with a new version of the Aquis and make minute line markers all around the bezel. And the reason for that is that when we make a dive plan, we say something like, okay, there's a wreck that we're going to go check out. Max depth is the wreck is sitting on 20 meters, at 20 meters. So the sand is at 20 meters. So you say, okay, I'm going to go down to the wreck and I'm going to explore the wreck for 20 minutes and come back up. So 20 meters for 20 minutes. That is your dive plan. This is perfect for that. This will work. I mean, it's not as good as a dive computer. I think dive computers are number one for diving. They're irreplaceable. No dive watch, I don't care how expensive it is, will be as good as a Shearwater Petrol or something like that, an actual dive computer. But regardless, if I'm out on vacation, I didn't travel with my computers with me, I'm out on a cruise with my kids or whatever, I get the chance to do a dive, okay, I can wear this thing. The only thing I'm not going to get is how much air I have left in my tank. So I'm going to have a gauge, an external gauge for air pressure. But this thing will give me my depth, and I wouldn't worry about it. Like, I wouldn't be hesitating like, wow, this thing is telling me 20 meters. Is it really 20 meters? It is. It's pretty dead on. I'm telling you, this thing is pretty dead on in my opinion. So I would use this, no hesitation, for a simple dive like that. 20 meters for 20 minutes at 20 meters to explore a wreck and then come up slowly. Look at the depth gauge. I think one of the cool things about it is that because of Boyle's Law and the way they set this up, the shallower you get, the more the accuracy and the more the separation between the individual meters. He goes 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 and all the way to 10, and then he starts by 2. So 12, 14, 16. Once he gets to 20, he goes by 5s, all the way to 30, and then he goes by 10s. So like the deeper you go, the split between the number of meters kind of expands, right? But as you're going up and you need to make that 5-meter safety stop, it will be dead on in 5. It's really, really accurate, and it's a watch, I can monitor it for 3 minutes at 5 meters and then go up slowly, looking at my depth gauge. And another thing that I was concerned about is how visible is the gauge going to be? Now, I didn't test it at night. I wish I did. That was pretty dumb because I did several night dives while I was in Bonaire. The visibility on the depth gauge during the day, which is only when I tested it, or I recorded it at least, it's great. Way better than I thought. I said, I'm probably going to need like binoculars underwater to be able to see that thing. No, totally no problem whatsoever. You can totally see what the depth gauge, what the depth is underwater. So that works very well. I commend them for that. Works great. Pretty ingenious. I love it. I love this watch. It's pretty awesome. And I'm sad that I have to send it back. But one thing, please change for the next version is the minute markers around the bezel. So I compare this one to my Rolex Deep Sea Sea Dweller, which I talked about on the last video. So this watch right here, when I get it close, it's a dive watch. And you can see that the minute markings go all around the bezel for 60 minutes. Because the idea is, right now, let's say we're about to start going in. I go all the way down to the wreck at 20 meters. I'm going to move the bezel. You can see you can hear it. I'm going to move the bezel so that 12 marker is right at the minute that I went in. Let me get it closer. Okay, so now the 12 is pointing at the minute that I went in. And as the minute hand moves, I can see that I've been at the wreck for 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, etc. It tells me minute by minute how long I've been underwater at depth so I can start heading up. The challenge with the Oris is that it only does that for 15 minutes. So if I am now, planning to do 20, the 20 minute is kind of like in the middle of the bezel. If I can get it. So you can see the 20 minute is like in the middle of the bezel between the 10 and 30 lines. And like when is it 20? Is it when it hits the 2? Or is it between the 2 and the 0? Or is it when it passes the 0? You see what I'm saying? It's like, that's the most critical thing, that I don't go over the 20 minutes of my dive plan, right? And obviously at that depth, if you do 22 minutes, it's going to be fine, unless you run out of air. But in terms of no decompression limits, you'll be okay. But the point is, I need it to be accurate. If I'm going to use this for the intended purpose of using it during a dive, I need it to be accurate to the minute. So please put minute markings all the way around. Needs to be all the way around or nothing. All right. So if you're not going to use this for diving, again, before you start commenting below, like nobody really uses this for diving, you would use a dive computer. If all you want is a diver watch, then you can go with a diver watch that is less expensive. Like this one right here. This is also the smallest watch I own and that I wear. This is a Precious A-5 UDT watch. It pays homage to the underwater demolition team divers back in the day. These are the kinds of watches they used to wear. And it's great. It's a beautiful watch. I love it. It's matte black face with a luminosity on the the dials and the numbers and everything. Minute markings all around. I love it. I love this watch. It's small, but it's rated to 200 meters. That's all you need. Now, the Oris is rated to 500 meters, and the Rolex is rated to 3,900. So 3,000, let's say 4,000 meters. Who's going diving to 4,000 meters? Nobody. Who's going diving to 500 meters? Nobody. So there comes a point where the water resistance on it, and I think Omega has one that goes to like tens of thousands of, like it's irrelevant at that point, right? It's just marketing gimmick because most divers don't go below 40 meters. right? Most divers do that. Now, there's a ton of divers out there that are technical divers, trimix divers. I include myself in that group, that we go to 100 meters, 330 feet, maybe a little bit further than that. Very, very few elite divers, which I don't count myself in that group, go to 200 meters or past 200 meters. Like, I don't know how many in the world go past that, but I would say maybe less than 10 people in the world do dives past 200 meters. So I think anything beyond 200 meter water resistance is a gimmick, in my opinion. This Precious A-5 UDT does 200. Again, the Oris does 500. The Rolex does 4,000. Who cares? Honestly, it doesn't really matter. I think it's cool that because I know Rolex, being the complete savages they are when it comes to quality control, they will test that stuff to go down to 4,000, and it works. But for a diver, it doesn't really make a difference. What does make a difference is the price tag, right? The Oris is $4,300, and you can get it for around that price. I think I saw some listings online for 4,000, 4,500, 4,300. It's in that ballpark, right? The Rolex is listed for 16,500, I believe. First of all, you cannot get it for like any price. They're really, really hard to get. They're really, really hard to find. If you go to a Rolex dealership, they have nothing. They never have anything. I don't know how they're even open and pay their bills. I personally don't get it. But anyway, the Rolex authorized dealers, they don't have it for sale. If you get lucky, you're paying 4 to 5 times the price of an Oris Aquis, which I already said is a luxury Swiss timepiece, just as good as the Rolex. And I just don't see the point on, you're not gaining much by having a Rolex besides the line markings. Also, the bezel is a lot smoother on the Rolex. I will say that. Whereas the Aquis, I noticed, okay, I'm not faking this. It's hard. Like if I do 2 fingers, I struggle. I don't know if there's some crud in there or whatever. When I got it, it was brand new, so it's not like a bunch of people have been wearing this thing, but it's hard. I mean, hard. And underwater was very hard to move this bezel. I mean, you have no idea. Like, it's almost locked up. I don't know what's going on with it. It might be some maintenance or something that needs to be done in it, and it might be as smooth as the Rolex, so I'm not going to fault them for that. I highly, highly doubt that this is normal. But again, you're not going to gain much more value or in terms of functionality from the Deep Sea Sea Dweller versus the Aquis. I don't think you're going to get much value, much more functionality. As a matter of fact, I think the depth gauge is really cool, and it actually makes it very functional. If I'm going to do a 20-meter dive for 20 minutes with the Rolex, I need a depth gauge and I need a gas gauge or an air gauge to be able to monitor everything. So this is just a bottom timer, whereas I get the depth gauge with the Aquis. So I like that better. Also, the Aquis is really good in terms of not raising any eyebrows, right? You're out there, I went to Bonaire, I wore it all around the island. Nobody seems to notice that this is a luxury timepiece, which I really like. I know there's some people in the complete opposite end of the spectrum that want people to know that, hey, I have a luxury timepiece on my wrist. If you're one of those people, the Oris may not be the best for you because not a whole lot of people will notice. I did get some people to notice, specifically people who also were wearing an Oris at the meetup, right? They had an Oris as well. They were like, hey, we have the same watch. We notice each other, but most people won't know that this is an 120-year-old Swiss luxury watchmaker that you're wearing. Whereas if you have a Deep Sea Sea Dweller, anywhere you go, from the distance, hey, nice watch. You're going to get that. Rolex recently released this model, the Deep Sea Sea Dweller, in yellow gold. If you're into that, again, if you want to be flashy, that's the model for you. Get the Deep Sea Sea Dweller in yellow gold. Personally, I still like this one better. I have nothing against yellow gold watches, but I like the bezel in this better. The fading from blue, deep blue to black. I like everything about this watch. So personally, I wouldn't pass it. Like if they gave me to trade, I wouldn't trade this for a yellow gold watch. But it's a personal preference type of thing. So $645 for the Presidus A-5 UDT. Awesome watch. No problem wearing that thing. I'll wear it anywhere, weddings, whatever. Looks great. $4,300 for this guy, the Oris Aquis Depth Gauge. And by the way, they have like 40 different models of this thing. Rubber in different colors. And yeah, so it's like 40 different variances. So there's one for you based on your preference. And then you get this one that is almost impossible to find. I actually got super lucky. I'm going to maybe tell the story of how I got my deep sea dweller in the Bahamas completely in a fluke. Like I'll tell the story in another episode. But anyway, let's watch the underwater footage for the watches so we can compare what they look like underwater, and you can make a decision for yourself. Okay, so here we have the Oris underwater. I'm going to apologize in advance, by the way, because of the camera decided to focus on the background instead of the actual watch. But we still get to see, I'm going to point it out with my mouse here. You still get to see the depth in there, even though it's out of focus. I'm at 2 meters right now. You can see it's pretty clear. And obviously underwater, it looks even better. And as I go down deeper, you can see that it's moving. It's now at 9 meters right there. It's pretty clear. Like you can see the difference between the part that has water and the part that has air that is getting compressed by Boyle's law. As I mentioned, 10 keeps going down. So now I'm like at 11. And that's the problem with when he switches to, you know, to not be 1 by 1 anymore. So now I'm at 12 and he keeps going down. So here's what I mentioned with the, if you didn't see it on the video earlier, the numbers or the individual minutes are all the way to 15, but then like it's a black box. Like I have no idea. Am I at 27? Is 27 here, or like I don't know. So please, let's get numbers all around. Anyway, so you can see I'm now at 18 meters. Keep going down, descending all the way to 20 or so. Just keep an eye on the depth gauge. Don't worry about the background that is actually in focus. I hate my camera. 20 meters. We keep going down. Approaching 21. Or I guess 25 at this point. Really, really cool to see Boyle's law in action, showing me the depth. Max depth in this dive is 30 meters, so I'm descending all the way to the sand, so I'm not going to hit any coral or anything. There's a sandy bottom here. You can see that huge fish back there on the top left corner. But I'm going all the way down to 30 meters, so I'm just aiming for the sand and gently going all the way down to it. And you can see right there, let me pause right here for a second. As I'm about to hit the sand, let me go back. You can see right here that the sand is pretty close. You see it behind me right here. And the line for the depth is right around 30. I know it's blurry. I promise. This says 30 in there, 30. So right at 30 is my depth, which I'm about to hit the sand. So like, I don't know, I'm 2 feet from the sand, like 60 centimeters, 50 centimeters, like I'm half a meter maybe away from it, and I'm right at 30. Now, this right here is when it starts getting deep, right? So this little checkers that you see right here on the depth gauge is all the way to 40. 40 is the recreational depth limit for deep divers or recreational deep divers, and then it keeps going all the way to 100. 100 is when it tops out. I didn't go to 100 to test it, by the way. I just stayed all the way to 30 because that's what most people are going to dive. So you can see that I'm about to hit the sand, and I'll be right at 31 or 32, something like that. Here you go. Now here I am comparing it to my computer. You can see I'm 102 feet. And the depth gauge shows right around 31 meters or so. Again, camera not focusing properly. 102, 31 meters. Checks out. 31, 32, something like that. Again, it's not exactly right. If you want the perfection in depth, then get a dive computer, obviously. Dive computer will work. But so here I am right at 30. I'm hovering right above the sand, like 1 or 2 feet above the sand. And now I'm going to take it up. So here are side by side, the Oris and the computer. So you guys can see I'm at 95 feet. I'm just hovering over and I'm heading up. So just doing a slow ascent. So you can see I'm not exceeding my speed, just 1 or 2 lines, which is fine. So 92 feet, and you can see the bubble right here rising you know, the air inside of it is starting to expand as I go up. So slowly ascending, and the gauge, obviously, the air inside the gauge expanding to show me the appropriate depth at this point. So here I am at 66 feet, which is 20 meters. And you can see the line is right there at 20. I don't know if you can see it. Again, not very much in focus, but it's pretty close. 66 feet, 20 meters. So here's what the Rolex looks like underwater. Deep sea dweller. Really easy to see all the minutes around the bezel, right? If I'm there for 22 minutes, I'll know exactly how long I've been there. If I'm there for 33, whatever it is, really easy to see it. And it looks great underwater. I mean, again, out of focus. All my videos were out of focus. Sorry about that. So here's how we set up the bezel on the Rolex. At least trying to get it in focus. It's hard to hold the camera and use both hands at the same time. Alright, so here's the Rolex. And the bezel is a lot smoother. A lot smoother. Easier to move. Put it on the right place. And move on. Great watch. It's really nice when you hold a watch, a dive watch, not just the Rolex, just any watch, like against the background like this, and see how it blends in, like the blue from the bezel with the blue of the water. Bonaire is spectacular, by the way. If you're a diver and you haven't been to Bonaire, definitely go check it out. And here's the Precious UDT, A-5 UDT. You can see it looks great underwater. Nothing fancy, just a dive watch. And it looks great. This size is good, 38 millimeters versus the 44 on the Rolex and 45.8 on the Aquis. But super legible. Numbers are huge, right, on the tiny face of the watch. And works great. This is me diving with the Precious, as you can see. Looks great. Super clear. Underwater, I can tell the time right now. It's 1:27 in the afternoon. This was a great dive. Shore dive out of the Plaza Resort in Bonaire. Great place. And here's a shot of the Rolex underwater. Deep sea dweller looks great, especially with that blue water in the background. And here's what the Aquis looks like underwater. Really like the size of this watch. 45.8 millimeters, as I mentioned before. Just, I think it matches my wrist very well. I don't have huge wrists. I would say I have like medium-sized wrists. Not large, but yeah, great size. But then, of course, nothing is better than an actual dive computer for diving. Shearwater Perdix 2. Looking great. Perfect underwater. All the information I need. The Oris Aquis. Great dive watch. Definitely recommended. Highly recommended. Please change the bezel. Give me minute markers all the way around. Even the fish like it. Look at that. Come on, fish. Check out my watch. And that's the perfect way to end it, with the watch blending in with the water and the fish in Bonaire. I think the Oris Aquis is a really good dive watch for the price specifically, because it's a luxury Swiss timepiece, in my opinion. It's built with the amazing quality of a 120-year-old, you know, timepiece manufacturer, a watch company, and it really shows. It's great quality. This is the kind of watch that you can wear diving and a few hours later have at the bar while you're talking to your friends after the dive, or, you know, have at a business meeting or at a conference or a wedding or whatever it is. This thing blends in whether you're wearing a suit or you're wearing jeans and a t-shirt, whatever it is. It's a great piece to have. So if there are two things that I would change about this, and this is a message for Oris if you're watching this, two things. I already mentioned the bezel, which I'm still struggling to rotate. It seems like if I pull and rotate, that works better. So I'm sending this one back for sure. As you guys know, this is a loaner, so please check that when you get it back. But the second thing I would change is the power reserve. I don't understand why the biggest watch of the three that I talked about in this video has the shortest power reserve, 38 hours. And I get it, 38 hours is a long time. It means that you've been wearing your watch, is fully wound right, is fully charged, and then you take it off and it will run for 38 hours. That's over a day and a half. That's a long time. But if this is 45.8 millimeters and it runs for 38 hours, how come the Presidus runs for 40? I mean, that's 2 hours longer for $645 and a 38 millimeter watch, and this one only runs for 38. I don't get it. The Rolex is 44 millimeters, so it's a little bit smaller, not much, about 2 millimeters smaller, and runs for 70. That's almost 3 days. I can take this off, set it aside, and it will run for almost 3 days nonstop until I put it on again. So I was a little, disappointed, let down by the fact that it will only run for about a day and a half, which is not a lot. I would love to see a bigger power reserve on the watch or in the watch. Again, bezel markings all around, bigger power reserve. Take advantage of the size for that. But other than that, great watch. Really love it. Sad to see it go. But if you know of any other dive watches that you want reviewed, especially if you're a manufacturer, a company that makes dive watches, send them over. I'll review them. No strings attached. I'm going to tell you what I really think about it. You don't have to pay us to review it. We're definitely going to say whatever we really think about the watch, and we'll send it back. We're not asking for free stuff. If you want to give it to us for free, most likely we're going to give it away to one of our subscribers. So make sure you subscribe to Dive Talk Plus. But we don't even need to keep it. We're happy to send it back. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to leave the video about dive watches and what to know before you buy one right here. Check it out. And again, if you have any suggestions, divetalk.com. That's the place to make them. We'll see you on the next one.